Hi, I'm Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. By accessing this presentation, you're inviting me to share this information regarding our passage through this challenging and very hopeful time. This is the care and feeding of a new world age for the Gregorian date of January 13, 2013, and one night in the Mayan Tzolkin calendar. And we're also going to discuss Mercury and the Sun moving into Aquarius. So anyway, January 13th is one Akbal, or night, which carries the themes of dreams, transitions from light to dark or dark to light, starry skies, subconscious thoughts, the void where nothing exists but there is all potential, the womb of creation, sanctuary, the underworld, stillness, introspection, dawn and dusk. The glyph for night is the owl, which is a creature of both of the day and the night. And one night, the One Night Tzolkin is a great time to explore the dark places in our lives, to realize that, and to realize that without the darkness, we cannot see the stars. And astrologically, the One Night Tzolkin begins with Jupiter retrograde, which means that it's the only planet that still appears to be moving backwards from our vantage point here on the Earth. And this being the 13-day period where the Mayan Tzolkin brings more focus to contemplating the stars, and it's also a time when both Mercury and the Sun are moving into Aquarius, I thought I'd discuss the truth about the Age of Aquarius. One of my personal pet peeves is that so many astrologers discuss what is popular without actually doing any research into the truth. And, why should I blame them? Their public would rather hear information that makes them feel better in the moment rather than something that is actually useful. I, on the other hand, I cannot do this for two reasons. One, I have integrity, and two is that I want to know what's real for myself and not what other people agree on without any proof. My role in life is as a heretical investigator, and that's what I bring to these reports. Every other astrologer that I've been exposed to is of the opinion that we are either in the Age of Aquarius or about to enter it, and their audiences really want this to be true, just like they wanted December 21st, 2012 to be the end of the Mayan calendar long date. But unfortunately, wanting something does not make it so. And I covered the details of this controversy of the long count end date during the One Earth video from December 18th, 2012. If you're interested in why nothing really changed on that last solstice. Of course, those same astrologers who were talking about the end date have now poo-pooed the Mayan calendar after that date, rather than actually looking at their own lack of investigation into this important topic. Anyway, let me not digress. To understand ages, we need to understand something called the axial precession of the equinox, which is a 25,772 year cycle, which is often rounded to 26,000 years, and it's called the Great Year in astrology. The precession of the equinox is caused by the fact that the Earth has a slow wobble on its axis, which causes us to move through the themes of the zodiac in reverse, moving through great months like the age of Leo, and then Cancer, Gemini, Taurus, Aries, and currently in Pisces. And these ages are each 2,148 years long, which becomes the first major problem with the collective wisdom regarding these cycles, because almost all modern astrologers have rounded the ages to 2,000 years, which creates an increasing margin of error of 148 years compounded every 2,000 years. Basically, we experience 1 degree of movement through the zodiac every 71.6 years. And ages are named in relation to the constellation that the sun is aligned with at the moment of the vernal equinox. And of course, most Western astrologers use the tropical system. That's actually the system that this chart is showing. And with the tropical system, we're looking at the sun entering into 0 degrees Aries at the moment of the vernal equinox. But basically, the tropical system is looking at the alignment of the planets to the constellations as if we were in the age of Aries. There's another system. This other system is called the sidereal system. And it looks like this in its alignment. And with the sidereal system, we're looking at where the planets are in relation to the constellations, as if you went outside at night and you looked at Jupiter or some of these planets and you looked at what the constellation was behind it, you see what the true constellation is. And in the sidereal system, this is the constellation here for Pisces. And the sidereal system, which is looking at the actual location of planets in relation to the constellations, what we can see here is right here, this is 0 AD. This dot right here represents 1000 AD. This one over here represents 2000 AD. And you can see with Pisces that it's quite a long distance past 2000 AD before we've moved past the constellation of Pisces into the constellation of Aquarius. Actually, it looks like it's probably around 2500 AD. But here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you verifiable proof of our current age. All you need to do is just find software that can produce a sidereal chart. And what you want to do is you plug in the information for this year's vernal equinox, being March 20th, 2013 at 11:03 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, which is 7:03 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Or you can convert that time to your current location and then use any location that matches the time zone that you've entered, because after all, ages affect the entire planet at once. And look at the placement of the sun. You'll find that the upcoming equinox, the sun is at 5 degrees and change, almost 6 degrees Pisces. So not only are we currently in the age of Pisces, we are almost 400 years away from the age of Aquarius. There is not a single person on this planet that will be alive in their current incarnation when we enter the age of Aquarius. So when you hear folks talking about us being in or entering into the age of Aquarius, you can now be aware that what you're hearing is just New Age hogwash. So why would folks continue to spread this type of false information? Well, because most people digesting this type of information are like trained rats just hitting the feeder bar for the next instant gratification date. Because we've become trained to look at a date when we're all going to experience enlightenment, or we're all going to experience unity or oneness or ascension without actually having to do the work. We've really become slaves to a system of spiritual entitlement rather than doing the work, doing what spiritual people have done long before us, which is going through trials and tribulations that come from walking the path across the razor's edge. Obviously, for whatever reason, you've chosen to look at my information. So why do I keep reporting on what is verifiable and what other people are making up in these reports? It's because this is the care and feeding of a new world age. And I do believe that we are entering into a new world age, and there is plenty of real cosmic energy that's currently affecting us without having to make anything up. I feel like following an astrologer that's discussing the age of Aquarius is like using Fodor's travel guide to Italy when you're in India. It's not very practical, and so my commitment is to providing information that is accurate for what we're going through right now, what the accurate information of what's affecting us, so that we can all benefit in moving into the new world age together. So anyway, that aside, let's look at the daily vibrational energy of this Tricenter 13-day period. January 13 is one night in the Tzolkin, Mayan Tzolkin calendar. This is about unity being experienced through contemplating the stars, with the Aquarius moon merging with Mars, which can exaggerate irritable feelings, so it might be best to kind of tread lightly during the early part of the day. The 13th is 2C. This is duality experienced through planting seeds and making new connections, as Venus harmonizes with Chiron, the wounded healer, which is helpful in looking at our wounds that relate to love relationships so that they can be healed. With the Pisces moon merging with Neptune and challenged by Jupiter and in harmony with Venus and Pluto, the day begins with increased sensitivity to our environment, and then it later shifts to benevolent feelings and wanting to be with friends and people we love, and then wraps up with the arousal of deep emotions. January 15th is 3 Serpent. This is about taking action through being flexible, as Jupiter squares, which is a 90-degree angle, Chiron, the wounded healer, which brings past wounds into our consciousness to be healed. And with Jupiter involved, these wounds may include our fears related to failure or even fears related to success. With the moon in Pisces on that day, finding support from Saturn, the day begins with a sober and realistic view of life. The 16th is 4 Transformation, and 4 is about stability, and transformation is about letting go of what no longer serves us. Which is interesting because the major planetary alignment for that day is that we have Venus in a line with Pluto from our perspective here on Earth. So these two planets are in Capricorn, which is active for a few days before and after. This is 16. And when we merge the energy of romantic love, Venus, with the energy of death and rebirth, Pluto, we get contacted by ex-lovers, or we contact them. And typically, if a relationship had problems before, thus becoming ex-lovers, reconnecting to a past romantic interest does not yield a sustainable relationship. So I encourage folks to fight the urge to merge with the ex, and given that this connection between Venus and Pluto also includes a sextile or a 60-degree angle down here to Saturn, this could also be about relationships that have come to the end of the line. This is a time of karma, as many of us will harvest what we've sown in relationships, whether good or bad. Ultimately, what Pluto wants in relation to Venus is authenticity in our communications and empowerment in our relationships with others. With the moon harmonizing with Mercury and the Sun and Jupiter and merging with Uranus, the day's emotional wave begins with increased social interactions and a stimulated thought process, and then later it shifts to feelings of balance between our inner and outer worlds, and then we have feelings of impulsiveness that may bring about rash actions, and finally it's about enjoying congenial interactions with others. And then on the 17th, January 17th, we have 5 Deer in the Tzolkin. This is about empowerment through being a service to others, as on that day we have Venus harmonizing, again, a 60-degree sextile, 60-degree angle with Saturn, which is pleasantly encourages us to look at our relationships and our responsibilities in our relationships. And on that day, we have the Aries moon being challenged by Pluto and Venus and stimulated by Mars. Early in the day, there's an urge towards compulsive behaviors that may have a negative impact in the long run, with the potential for affectionate feelings that could turn into possessiveness, and then later still it brings a desire to work independently from others. The 18th is 6-star. This is about being in the flow through being grateful for abundant relationships. And on this day, we have the sun merging with Mercury in the very last degree of Capricorn. This chart's actually set up for the 19th, the next day. So this is before these two planets cross this line from Capricorn into Aquarius. But the sun merged with Mercury stimulates our social interactions and conversations, particularly with people who are part of our new direction coming up from that new moon we had back on the 11th. And in Capricorn, this could be related to business pursuits. Also, this is illumination that comes to some dark areas in our minds, which brings forward information that was previously in the shadows. And with the first quarter moon being challenged by the sun and Mercury and in harmony with Neptune, which brings tension that challenges our daily routines. People may be more critical in their communications. And finally, feeling very sensitive to the moods of others, with the possibility of having psychic experiences for the more sensitive people. And then on January 19th, we have 7 offering. This is a reflection through appreciating creation, and this is the day when both Mercury and the sun move into Aquarius, which is what this chart shows, which shifts our focus to more social consciousness, while being true to our individuality, to share our inventive and innovative ideas with groups and communities. And on this day, we have the Taurus moon finding support from Pluto and opposed by Saturn, which brings in intensified emotions and greater sensitivity, along with feelings of isolation and loneliness. The 20th is 8-dog in the Tzolkin. This is about balance through enjoying being with family and friends. With the moon in Taurus, finding support from Venus and challenged by Mars, the day begins with the enjoyment of feelings and enjoyment of friendships and good food, and then later it shifts to irritability, which may bring out needless disputes. So try to avoid people who are irritable on that day. Then we have January 21st, 9 monkey in the Tzolkin, patience through creating new beginnings. With the Gemini moon being challenged by Neptune, supported by the sun and Mercury, stimulated by Uranus, merging with Jupiter, the day's emotional energy moves from fantasies being more important than daily routine tasks. And also we have a feeling of harmony within and without. And then later this shifts to being more in touch with our feelings and the ability to express our moods with clarity while experiencing pleasant yet restless urges. And then finally, there's contentment and expressions of generosity as the moon finally links up with Jupiter. The 22nd, this is 10 road in the Tzolkin, manifestation through serving your community, as Mercury is stimulated from our perspective here on Earth by Uranus. So stimulation is a 60-degree angle, a sextile, which brings new discoveries and new people into our lives with an overall sense of excitement and innovation. And also, Mercury's very busy on this day. Mercury also finds support from Jupiter. So from our perspective here on Earth, this is a 120-degree angle. We call it a trine. This is really good energy for making future plans and expanding the possibilities that we experience from the new information, people, and creativity that that are coming into our world at this point. We also have the moon in Gemini making no major aspects which means that the day's emotional energy is also focused on communication, because Gemini is about communication. It's ruled by Mercury, which is that really busy planet here on the 22nd. January 23rd, we have 11 read. This is resolution through the blessings of home and family, with the Gemini moon, finding support from Mars, which brings the ability to assert ourselves in a positive manner. The 24th is 12 Jaguar. This is about understanding through spending time in nature. And on this day, we have the sun being stimulated by Uranus. So again, this stimulation is a 60-degree sextile angle. And when the sun is stimulated by Uranus, life becomes more interesting and illuminating through our contacts with others during our daily routines. And on this day, we have the Cancer moon, finding support from Neptune and Saturn, challenged by Uranus and opposed by Pluto. The day begins with daydreams that refresh the spirit, but then later it shifts to more rebellious feelings that could lead to hasty actions. And later still, there's the possibility for emotional conflicts, finally settling back into a and then it's just the energy settles back into a more realistic view of life. And then the last day of this Trecena, this is on January 25th, for 13 Eagle, which is about movement to the next stage through seeing from a higher perspective. The Eagle sees from a higher perspective. As Mercury, again, very busy Mercury, being challenged by Saturn, which what that means is from our perspective here on Earth, this is a 90-degree angle. The 90-degree angle is called a square. And when Mercury is challenged by Saturn, this is good for being more disciplined in our thinking and communication, with more critical skills, being sharp. And this also really demands like higher standards on whatever we're working on. And also on that day, we have the Sun and Jupiter over here forming a 120-degree angle. We call that angle a trine, which that angle is very supportive. The Sun is supporting Jupiter. Jupiter is supporting the Sun. This is one of the most positive transits. It brings enthusiasm and optimism, and it can have the effect of people feeling lazy. But what I want to do is I really want to encourage folks to use this energy to accomplish something that's good for yourself. And this day we have the Cancer moon being opposed by Venus, which brings a focus on issues of security, but it's also about the enjoyment of good food and drink. And people, but there's also a caution against overindulgence. So no matter how these energies are affecting you during this one night Trecena or a 13-day period, take some time out to be in the flow of the planet by being in nature, watching a sunrise or a sunset, communing with the stars, which is what one night is all about. Or being conscious of the moment through introspection or meditation, or being with somebody you love and just being really conscious of being with that person. Every single day we have is a blessing, no matter what the dramas are that beckon to distract us. We're all here giving the performance of our lifetime on the world stage, so take some time out to observe the play as well as acting your part. Remember, you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. As always, I'd like to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of Care and Feeding of a New World Age will be on January 26, 2013 for One Wisdom, and we'll discuss the Leo full moon, Jupiter turning direct, woohoo! Venus will be moving into Pisces. Mars moves into Pisces. Venus will be moving into Aquarius. Mercury will be also going into Pisces. You can check us out on Facebook or YouTube, on the Mind Magic's website and newsletter. And as always, I invite you to email me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions about what's in this report, or if you wish to schedule a reading. And I am providing readings and wish to make this service available to the greatest amount of folks. So I've created 3 options with 3 levels of compensation. These readings are designed to provide you information to help you navigate these difficult times. At the basic level, we're going to look at your human design chart to help you understand how to use your own individual strategy and authority in making life decisions based on your unique design. I include the next 3 months astrological transits as they relate to your natal and progressed astrology charts, along with the human design reading at the middle level, and then at the top level, the astrological transit reading and the human design reading will be recorded and then sent to you as an MP3 file that can be downloaded onto your computer. So anyway, if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I'd love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to either be able to call me in Maine, in the USA, or connect with Skype to receive your reading. As always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time out to connect with my passion for all these ancient mysteries and their application in our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. En Lakesh. And I hope to see you for the next report on One Wisdom. Thanks for everything.